US President Trump is ready to immediately pay Iran $12 billion. And of course, this isn't out of love for it, but only to save this global event that millions are waiting for in just a few days. But at the last moment, at the moment when America was about to sign this historic agreement and end this war, as usual, Netanyahu intervenes with a single phone call, turning the table upside down and imposing an impossible condition that could ignite the region once again. What happened in this event? The secret call between Trump and Netanyahu? And how did a tiny Iranian island smaller than the city of Chuta turn into a graveyard for 2,100 American missiles? Information is being revealed today. We have all these details for you today, but after this break, stay with us. Dear viewers, peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings, and welcome to another edition with us today, God willing, as part of our opinion series, which we always dedicate to keeping up with the latest developments and updates of this global conflict that the Middle East is witnessing between Iran and the Epstein Alliance. Of course, dear viewers, there is no topic today except for this agreement that is being negotiated behind the scenes. All the news in the past hours has been talking about this agreement, because there are secret negotiations currently taking place between America and Iran aiming to reach an agreement. Some have described it as a historic agreement, of course, and some have said that this agreement could reshape the global geopolitical map. But despite the fact that all Western media outlets have been talking about this and about the imminent signing of the agreement, the Iranians insist that no agreement has been reached yet. Especially since the Iranians, who are standing on the winning side, refuse to give up any of their previous conditions. The Iranians now say that it is the United States that is obstructing reaching an agreement because it refuses some of the terms, including, for example, the clause that obligates the United States to pay war reparations. Iran has confirmed through a series of statements in the past few hours that it will never back down from its red lines in defense and protection of the rights of the Iranian people. Therefore, in reality, there is still a very high possibility that all these efforts to reach an agreement will fail. And especially after this phone call between President Trump and Netanyahu, because this call may have ended everything. The US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, said that there is still a chance to reach an agreement and then to enter into negotiations about the Iranian nuclear program. That's how it is, but at the same time he said that President Trump will not sign any bad agreement. This statement was clarifying and perhaps gives an impression of what is coming. And what's strange is that when he was asked about the reason for this delay in reaching an agreement, he said that the only thing left, which is causing the delay, is the Iranian response. Iran's response to these terms, but after that, it became clear that they were waiting for Netanyahu's call, not the Iranian response. So the truth is, even though it's been almost 2 days since the start of these secret negotiations, and talking about this upcoming agreement, some of whose main terms I presented to you in the previous episode, even though more than a day has passed, but still, things are not clear yet, because Trump is still waiting for concessions from Iran, and Iran says it will not make any concessions. The disagreement over some terms remains. Even when Trump agrees to these demands, or one of the Iranian demands, in the end he gets a phone call from Netanyahu that prevents him from doing so. The most important point Trump wants to achieve at this stage is to reopen the Strait of Hormuz again, and then enter into negotiations about the Iranian nuclear program. He postponed negotiations about the Iranian nuclear program to a later date. Trump, because Iran completely refused to enter into these negotiations now, and the war is not over yet. We're still just in a truce. And none of the victors' demands in this war have been achieved yet. Iran is the one that imposed them. Iran is managing the negotiation process. With great intelligence. it is using these American demands as leverage in the negotiation process to demand the lifting of sanctions, the release of frozen funds, war reparations, and so on. So what's strange today is that the whole world knows that America and the Epstein alliance in general cannot return to war again. And we've talked about this repeatedly, and we've explained it in many episodes. But despite that, we find that Trump and some American leaders still, to this day, even at this hour, say that if an agreement isn't reached, America will turn back to the military option, knowing, as I said, it has become impossible for America to return to war again during this period. A spokesperson for the Iranian Foreign Ministry, Sama el-Baqai, said that indeed there is a convergence of viewpoints. There are conclusions regarding a large part of the issues under discussion, but he said that signing the agreement is not imminent. And he confirmed that the focus of the negotiations now is only to end the war, not the Iranian nuclear program. And as I explained to you in the previous episode, Iran refuses to negotiate under these circumstances. First and foremost, it wants to establish communication. And this agreement is about stopping the war, and this agreement must guarantee these Iranian demands that result from this war, such as I said, paying compensation, committing to not returning to war again, and so on. And after that, Iran says yes. Then it might be possible to sit at the negotiating table to talk about the Strait of Hormuz and to discuss the Iranian nuclear program. So Baqai said it's true, there is agreement on a large part of the issues, but this does not mean that an agreement is close at all, Baqai. He pointed out another very important point that everyone should pay attention to today. He said that this upcoming agreement, which is being negotiated today, it does not discuss the Strait of Hormuz issue, meaning it only talks about opening the Strait of Hormuz. It does not discuss how this strait will be opened, how the Strait of Hormuz will be managed, and so on. Iran will not negotiate these matters now, and Iran is fully determined to impose a new system in the Strait of Hormuz. Baqai said that these matters concern only the coastal countries overlooking the Strait of Hormuz, meaning only Iran and the Sultanate of Oman, so America has nothing to do with it. So even regarding the issue of paying fees in the Strait of Hormuz, he said that Iran does not impose transit fees. So some media outlets affiliated with the Epstein coalition publish on social media and write in bold headlines, like a news banner, on news channels, saying that Iran will not impose fees on ships in the Strait of Hormuz, just like that in bold headlines. So when some people read that, they think that Iran has backed down, that it has given up its decision to impose fees on ships in the Strait of Hormuz and so on. And in reality, the Iranian statements on this matter are clear from the start. First of all, they are not saying that they are imposing transit fees for the Strait of Hormuz. They are saying that the fees they impose are in exchange for a service they provide in the Strait of Hormuz, meaning in their territorial waters, and these fees are legal according to the law of the sea. So when it is said today that America and Iran have reached a preliminary agreement to open the Strait of Hormuz, this, as I mentioned, is according to a number of newspapers, including the American newspaper The New York Times. So this will be under the control and management of Iran, and it will impose what it sees as appropriate for the security of the region, such as fees for the service provided by the Iranian Navy, including securing and inspecting ships and other arrangements for managing this strait. The difference here is that America just wants to save face. Today, it is only asking Iran to postpone this, to postpone imposing these fees for 2 months, meaning for a short period. Everyone should pay attention to this upcoming agreement so they don't fall into the trap of media manipulation and wordplay that some countries are trying. The Epstein alliance is being used to cover up this defeat, to cover up this new shift that Iran is imposing in the region. The American website Axios said that the upcoming agreement will guarantee a halt to the war, meaning a 60-day truce that can be extended, a 2-month truce, which is exactly what Trump needs today. Because, as everyone knows, the FIFA World Cup will soon begin in America, Canada, and Mexico, and it will continue until July 19th. This means it's a period during which America can't get involved in any war that could lead to disastrous consequences for itself and for this event. And of course, this isn't the only reason why Trump is avoiding going back to war again. There are other reasons that we've talked about in previous episodes. But this is the reason that forces Trump to urgently seek an agreement before the start of this World Cup. And Trump made a statement today saying, "We're not in a hurry." And anyone who follows Trump's statements knows that they're always contrary to reality. If Trump says, "We want an agreement urgently," know that it's the opposite. He actually wants to delay the agreement. And if he says he's not in a hurry, then know that he really wants it as soon as possible. He doesn't have enough time to postpone this agreement. Because for the World Cup to achieve the desired success, the host country needs to be in complete peace. And there needs to be security cooperation between the host country and all the countries participating in the World Cup. This still hasn't happened, and time is running out. And of course, in this agreement that's being discussed today, so that America doesn't appear to have been defeated regarding the Strait of Hormuz issue, it is asking Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz, with the suspension of imposing fees on ships for 2 months, for 60 days. In return, America will release $12 billion of Iranian funds it has frozen, and will lift the naval blockade on Iran. But did Iran really accept this or not? Did Trump really accept the Iranian demands? Things are not clear, no agreement has been reached yet. This means there are still disagreements. Even if this happens, Netanyahu appears in the end. Maybe there were indeed signs confirming that an agreement is close to being reached. But everything changed in a single moment. When that phone call happened, the call that brought Netanyahu and Trump together, because right after that call, what happened? Trump came out with new statements, with another new and strange demand. This time, the demand wasn't for Iran. This time, he asked all the countries in the region to join the Abraham Accords, to normalize relations with Israel as a mandatory requirement, as he said, and to do so all at once. It's as if he's sending a message of blackmail to these countries, especially the Gulf states. This message is that the agreement with Iran is ready and we will sign it soon. But signing it now requires you to join the Abraham Accords with Israel. If you want peace and to open the Strait of Hormuz for you, of course you must obligatorily join the Abraham Accords. Okay, which countries are these? Of course. So we find that the message is clear, directed first and foremost to Saudi Arabia, the major country in the region, then to the rest of the countries, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt and Jordan, then Kuwait. Of course, there is no mention of the UAE and Bahrain because they are already part of the Abraham Accords. So Trump said that he has now issued the necessary instructions to start normalization processes with Israel. This new shift turned things upside down and maybe brought things back to square one again. Because most of these countries will never accept normalization with Israel in the way Netanyahu wants, with this name, with this kind of blackmail, and under the name of the Abraham Accords. So it's clear that Netanyahu came up with a strange demand, honestly, that won't lead to any results. It will only break the understandings that were leading to an agreement to end the war. Netanyahu doesn't want there to be any agreement at all. Also, we see that all the Iranian statements are still clinging to the Strait of Hormuz. Maybe Trump previously accepted the Iranian demands. Iran is holding on to the Strait of Hormuz and wants a bigger release of the frozen funds. And Iran really needs these things, and it needs this truce. Things were heading toward an agreement. Why? Because Iran also needs these things, it needs this truce, and these matters will be a relief for it and a relief for the Iranian people. So, up until now, things are still back and forth. America asks for something, and Iran responds with something else. Things were perhaps being prepared. As I said, the agreement was coming, but it was clear that it would serve Iranian interests. Therefore, Netanyahu could not accept this. Iran will never accept any concession unless it gains something greater in return for that concession. Netanyahu will not accept this. So if we talk about another 60-day truce, Iran also, as I said, needs this 60-day truce so that everyone knows it is enough to make dozens of nuclear bombs. It is enough to convert its enriched uranium from 60% to 90%, meaning we are talking about approximately 400 kilograms of highly enriched uranium that it possesses. So it is a period that Iran might take advantage of in this context. Yesterday, there was a very strong Iranian statement that came from Mohsen Rezai. Khamenei's advisors said, if America wants to open the Strait of Hormuz, it must first dismantle Israel's nuclear weapons. He basically said, why is it that Iran does not possess nuclear weapons, while Israel has them? And he said, if war breaks out again, Iran will withdraw from the Non-Proliferation Treaty. He said, you know what that means? If Iran withdraws from this treaty, so don't commit suicide. That's what he said. That's how he described the situation, even if no one talked about Iran's nuclear program. There are also these ballistic missiles, drones, and so on. This period of truce will be an additional time for Iran to increase its stockpile of these weapons and to prepare more for what's coming, because the return of war is inevitable. So that's it, Haytham. The only thing left is when it will happen. Will this round happen now within the next 7 days in the coming months, or will it be after the start of 2027? So Iran will take advantage of this truce. The world will be preoccupied in a few days with news about the World Cup, while Iran will be preparing militarily for what is coming. And perhaps the $12 billion that the US would have released if this agreement had been reached, of course, would also have played a role in the process of rearming the Iranian army. The British newspaper The Telegraph said something very important today. It said that the agreement is ready and has been approved in principle both by the US and Iran. It said they are just waiting for approval from the supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, and that getting this approval will take a long time, several days. But it turned out that everything can fall apart in a single moment. This was also confirmed by the American network CNN and even by the American channel Fox News. They said that Trump gave Iran a specific deadline, meaning Iran must accept this proposal within 7 days. So it's clear that Iran knows very well how Trump thinks, knows exactly what he wants, what the American administration wants exactly, and knows very well that Trump is in real trouble. That's why they're exploiting this sensitive issue and making demands, trying to buy more time. Delaying the agreement makes Trump anxious, and as a result, he fulfills Iran's demands. But even when this happened, in the end, Netanyahu comes out and ruins everything. Trump is truly living. He has become at the mercy of Netanyahu. Netanyahu wants, unable to go to war. At the same time, he comes up with strange things that truly ruin this agreement. There are new details that have been revealed. For example, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard said that the Epstein alliance struck during the previous war. They struck the Iranian island of Abu Musa, which is claimed by the UAE and is located in a very important strategic location. And here, pay close attention. He said that they struck this island with more than 2,200 missiles, including 300 surface-to-surface missiles, but in the end, they achieved nothing regarding this island. Throughout this war, they couldn't even get close to this island. So pay close attention. We have a very small island, a microscopic island. Its area is about 12 square kilometers, much smaller than the city of Ceuta, with a population of only about 2,000 people. The Epstein alliance hit it with 2,100 missiles, which is more than the population of the island. In the end, they completely failed to achieve any of the intended goals from striking this island. the Iranian forces remained steadfast there, resisting and launching missiles, to the point that repeatedly American forces tried to approach the island and failed because of these Iranian missiles. And certainly, based on this information and the scale and number of strikes that this island was subjected to, it's clear that the Epstein Alliance had a plan to occupy this island and annex it to the Emirates. And I talked about this topic in previous episodes, so it was clear that this was indeed their goal. I mean, it's a very small and simple island, isolated and far from Iranian territory, and they couldn't manage to take control of it. So, what does that tell you? I mean, what about Iran's vast territory? So it's all facts, right? You know America well. Today, Iran taught Trump a lesson he will never forget. That's why he really wants to stop this war, even though he hasn't achieved any of his goals. Even though he's coming out defeated in this war, he wants to stop the war. But he always clashes with what Netanyahu wants, because Netanyahu doesn't want such an agreement. Therefore, things go back again to square one, and we'll also see how things develop in the next few hours. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings. See you next time.